Alright. So, I just wanted to give you an update. This is part 2 of Mangoose, Mischief, and Tales of Friendship. You should have answered the first question, and then there's going to be a question to this as well. So Prince Vera and Suku have been very clever at solving cases so far. So the case of the greedy moneylender. Prince Vera had a busy schedule during the day. He had to get up very early to go swimming. After breakfast, he studied mathematics, science, and economics. After lunch, he practiced archery, horseback riding, and wrestling. On Wednesday, Suku was expected to join Vera for his morning swim. Vera waited at the riverbank, but there was no sign of his friend. Vera swam alone. He expected Suko to join him for breakfast, but again he was disappointed. "Where's Suko?" Vera asked his mother. "Maybe he is needed at the farm today." "Son," said the queen. The whole day passed and there was no sign of Suku. Vera couldn't wait any longer. He decided to go find him. Vera rode his white horse through the wide streets of Hemper. His personal guards rode behind him. The streets were lined with neem and banyan trees. Vera went past the village temple and the lotus lake, and then he crossed the bridge over the lake. The streets were narrow now and the houses smaller. Large corn and paddy fields were dotted with farmhouses. "Look, the prince is here to see Suku," said a man looking up from his work. The people who lived in Suku's neighborhood were not surprised. Vera came often to visit Suku and spend a lot of time playing in the streets. If he was not wearing expensive clothes or jewelry, or if there were no guards around the area, they would not realize it was Prince Vera playing hide-and-seek on the streets with the other boys. Vera dismounted from his horse outside Suku's parents' house. He knocked on the door, and Suku's father opened it. "Welcome, my dear prince," said Suku's father. "Good evening, sir. Where is my friend Suku?" asked the prince. "He has gone away on a short trip," said Suku's father. What sort of trip?" asked the prince. "He never mentioned anything. It was quite sudden, your majesty. He had to leave this morning." Prince Vera looked around. Suku's clothes were still there. His bag and shoes were there too. All his things were here. He said, "Please tell me what is going on." Suku's father couldn't hold back his tears any longer. "The greedy moneylender has taken my boy away, your majesty. I didn't want to burden you with my problem, neither did Suku." "How much do you owe the moneylender?" asked Prince Vera. 25 silvers. 25 silvers, but I don't have that money, and I won't until I complete my harvest and sell my crops in the market." "Who is this moneylender?" asked the prince. He is very heartless." "Angar is his name," said Suku's father, and he explained. "Angar comes from a family of moneylenders. He charges heavy interest on the money he lends. He even leases utensils and jewelry for weddings, and he takes away people's belongings when they are unable to pay the interest. He is very greedy, your majesty." "I'm going to do something about this," said the prince, "but Suku is still with him," said Suku's father. "I don't want to cause any trouble. I don't want anything to happen to my son, your majesty. Get me a bag of 25 silvers," Vera said to his guard, "and get my friend back." Then to Suku's parents he said, "I'll teach that moneylender a lesson he will never forget." Suku's parents refused the money at first, but Prince Vera urged them to take it. After a lot of discussion, they finally agreed to accept the prince's help in bringing their son back. The next day, Suku returned home from the moneylenders, then headed straight to the palace with a bag of sweet potatoes and guavas. "Thank you," he said. "You have been very kind to us. My father will pay the money after the harvest." "Never mind, Suku," said Prince Vera. "I couldn't wait until the harvest to beat you at horseback riding or archery, could I?" "Ha! To be beaten, you mean," said Suku. "You can't wait to lose." "We'll see about that. What happened at the moneylender's house?" asked the prince. "Did he hurt you at all?" "No, he just made me do all his chores," said Suku. "He made me count the money, make tea for him, and even wash his clothes. But that was easy. He had only 2 shirts and 2 dowdies." "Didn't you say he was rich?" "Yes, he is, but he doesn't spend money. He eats only 1 meal a day to save his silvers." "That is pure greed," said Prince Vera. Maybe he is saving the money for a reason. I don't think any reason is good enough to swindle people out of their possessions, said Suku. He makes people give up their hard-earned things and money just to fill his coffers. Does he have any children? No children, no family, said Suku. Not even a pet. He lives alone, counts his money, eats, sleeps, and snores. He doesn't even have anyone to collect his dues. If people return the money late, he charges more interest. We have to teach him a lesson, my friend, said Prince Vera. We can't let him continue to cheat anymore. You mean report him to your father's court? asked Suku. I don't think we can do that. People who borrow from him sign a paper that says they agree to his terms. Your father will throw the case out when he sees the papers. But that's not fair, said the prince. We have to teach him a lesson. How about a bit of Vera treatment? Are you ready for some fun? Then Vera whispered a plan to his friend. The next day, dressed in an ordinary farmer's boy, Vera set off to see the moneylender. No one noticed him as he walked down the street and turned right at the village square onto a road lined with beautiful magnolia trees. The fragrance was wonderful. Angar the moneylender lived at number 77. A large statue of a white elephant stood outside the door. No one could miss that, thought Vera as he knocked. A thin, scrawny man opened the door. I'm here to see Angar the moneylender, said Vera. What for? Barked the man. To borrow some cookware for my sister's wedding. Come in, said the man. So how does the author create tension and excitement? That is the only question that you should be answering or should have on your paper. How does the author create tension and excitement? Vera stepped inside. The house was large and spacious, but he noticed that there wasn't any furniture, except for a desk set up on a dais. The seating area was covered in silk. There wasn't a single chair to sit on. The man climbed under the dais and sat down on the silk-covered floor. I am Angar, he said. What kind of pots and pans do you need? Can I look at them and decide? Asked Vera. The moneylender pointed to a green door. Vera pushed it open and stepped inside a room filled with pots, pans, ladles, and cups. They were made of copper, bronze, and steel, and some were made of earthenware. Vera took a selection of bronze vessels and stepped out again. He put them on the floor and said, These are the ones I need. Very well, then. You are taking 10 pots. You must return them in the same condition in a week's time. You owe me 3 silvers now and 2 silvers when you return them. The moneylender wrote down the details in his notebook. Vera signed the agreement and handed 3 silvers to the moneylender, then took his pots and left. One week went by, and then 2. A whole month had passed, and still Vera hadn't bothered to return the pots. I think we have waited long enough, said Suku. We should return the pots to the moneylender. Angar must have forgotten about them by now, said Vera. He hasn't sent anyone to get them. He doesn't do that, explained Suku. He simply charges me more. Make sure you bring some extra silvers with you. Don't worry, my friend, said Vera. I have enough to keep Angar happy. He carefully lifted 20 pots and placed them in a cart. Suku drove the cart while Vera sat inside, holding the pots. The boys arrived at the moneylender's house and unloaded the cart. On hearing them, Angar appeared from inside. Where were you all this time? He yelled. You should have returned these pots weeks ago. I will have to charge you more now. So I'm going to stop with this read aloud so you can answer your question and submit your answers. Once you have done that, you can come back into the meeting.